different level now, you know. I'm gonna do the same thing to Plant. I'm gonna do the same thing to Munguia. I'm gonna do the same thing to Charlo. You know, I got dynamite in these hands. And like what Floyd Mayweather told me, he said, yo, kid, got dynamite in them hands. Just let them shits fly. Nobody's gonna stand there with you. Nobody. You hit too hard. You're too smart. IQ.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So tonight there was a little bit of boxing on. Obviously Nick Ball fought against TJ Dehaney a little bit earlier. That fight was in England. A good performance, Nick Ball getting that stoppage. Looks like, you know, there's a good chance later in the year potentially we'll get the Naoya Inoue fight. So I think that will be very interesting. It's a fight that, you know, a lot of people have been talking about. Naoya Inoue looks pretty certain to move up in weight. You know, I know he's got a fight scheduled in Vegas, and then he will be fighting MJ Akhmadaliev. And then probably the next fight, you know, if he wins both of those, which I think he will, the next fight will be at the higher weight class and potentially a fight against Nick Ball, which would be very exciting. And then in Puerto Rico, obviously Edgar Berlanga fought. I think the big story this week was the fact that Edgar Berlanga was on the undercard. You know, he was not the main event fighter tonight. You know, obviously he's not happy about that. You know, he called out Eddie Hearn, his promoter in the week. And now Edgar Berlanga is officially a free agent. So as for the actual fight, Berlanga winning by first round knockout. And to be honest with you, you know, we really didn't learn anything from tonight. Edgar Berlanga's opponent, I mean, look, I don't like doing this because, you know, it takes a lot of courage to get into that ring. I think anyone that steps into that squared circle, you know, deserves a lot of credit. But Edgar Berlanga's opponent really was just an embarrassment. Honestly, you know, I think I could have probably beat him. He was that poor. I think a lot of people saw him on the scales and they were not convinced. And his performance tonight pretty much told you all you needed to know. So Edgar Berlanga getting the first round knockout, and like I said, you know, we didn't really learn anything. Edgar Berlanga is someone that we know has got power. You know, we saw him fight against Canelo Alvarez, and I think you know he actually had a decent performance against Canelo. I think a lot of people thought that Berlanga was going to get knocked out and potentially early against Canelo. He obviously went the distance, and you know he fought decently well. You know, a few people, including myself, were quite impressed. You know, I don't think he won many rounds in that fight against Canelo. I don't think he really went for it in terms of, I don't think he really, you know, went for the kill in that fight. But look, you know, I think he did well to last the 12 rounds against Canelo. And I think you're looking for that comeback fight to be against a decent opponent and really, you know, build off of that. And it seems like he's fought Canelo Alvarez and almost that momentum is pretty much gone. Yes, you've won by first round knockout, but you know, at this stage of your career, what does that really do for you? What does that mean? Is that really going to help your development? I think that guy you fought tonight was someone that you could have fought, you know, in your first professional fight and probably would have, you know, done the same thing. I don't know where Eddie Hearn got him from. And, you know, hopefully that's the last time I ever watched that opponent. So, yeah, you know, Edgar Berlanga wins that fight, and obviously after the fight calls out Caleb Plant. And I think that hit list that Edgar Berlanga had, I think that the only real one that makes sense is probably a Caleb Plant. Obviously on that hit list he said Jamal Charlo. We have not seen Jamal Charlo in the ring for a long time. Is he even training? We don't know. No one knows what's going on with the Charlo brothers. He called out Jaime Munguia. Jaime Munguia is looking to rematch the opponent that he got knocked out against. So I don't think that fight's gonna happen. I talked about Canelo rematch. That fight makes no sense. Again, you're someone that fought Canelo. It was, you know, it wasn't really that competitive. You lost, you know, pretty easily in that fight. So I don't think anyone wants to see a rematch. So I think the fight that does make sense is Caleb Plant. And obviously, I mean, look, you know, let me know what you guys think in the comments about that fight. I think that there's a little bit of beef, a little bit of history there. And I actually do think that is a decent fight. I think Caleb Plant is someone that, you know, obviously he fought Canelo, fought Benavidez and lost against both those opponents. So I don't think that Caleb Plant is that elite level, but he's probably a little bit just below. So I think Caleb Plant is a world level fighter. And I think that fight will show us, a lot more about Berlanga. Is he going to be competitive with Caleb Plant? Could he potentially win the fight? I think we'll know a lot after he fights Caleb Plant. So I'd like to see that fight. I think that's the one to make. I think the build-up will be very good. And I think the fight would be interesting as well. I think obviously Caleb Plant is the better technical boxer. Also got, the experience over Berlanga. But Berlanga, he does have that big punch. And Caleb Plant is not known for his power. So, maybe, Berlanga's going to go in there and really open up a little bit more than he did against Canelo because he's not afraid of what's coming back. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Obviously, interested to hear what you guys have got to say. So again, thank you guys all for tuning in, and I will see you on the next video here shortly.